Prof. Ahmed Jinapor Abdulai, Director General at the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission.
Professor, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. It's a continent-wide conversation where we understand that Africa's success really lies in its education sector, its tertiary education being of critical importance. If you had to, from your perspective, sitting on the policy and the regulatory frameworks that you are dealing with in Ghana now, what do you think is the biggest opportunity that we still need to seize in order to unlock the potential of education?
Well, I think, first of all, for us as a country, the tertiary educational landscape is the entry point when it comes to job employment. Because if you look at all the various sectors of the educational trajectory, the exit point for someone to enter into the job space and even for the person to contribute in terms of productivity, manifested in human resource development, is the tertiary educational space. And as a country, through the Education Regulatory Bodies Act, which was passed somewhere in 2020, the state, which is the Republic, has been very emphatic in ensuring that the various players adhere to the rules and regulations relative to adherence when it comes to what is expected of them in terms of the minimum standards. And that is where, as a commission, we come in. We, as a commission, are responsible for ensuring that the right things are done. And in fact, you cannot do anything in perfection if you don't adhere to the rules and regulations surrounding the more or less industry that you find yourself. So the single most important framework that will ensure to the success of educational architecture is adherence to the minimum standards in terms of quality. Quality assurance for us is the bedrock of every successful educational endeavor that every state wants to undertake.
And key to that assurance of the standard of the education is implementation. And it is not an easy task by any means. How much strides of how far have we gone in tightening the ability to hold institutions accountable or to really entice them towards a higher standard of delivery? What are the mechanisms that are used to ensure this implementation?
Well, I think Ghana, in terms of especially, and I speak to the tertiary space, has more or less been evolving when it comes to adherence to the principles of what is expected of institutions. And I must say, GTEC, which is the regulatory body of which I head when it comes to the tertiary educational space, is quite new. I mean, the law that established that entity started somewhere in 2020. But prior to that, we had two agencies, which is the National Council for Tertiary Education and the National Accreditation Board, who were responsible for ensuring to it that institution adhered to the principles of norms and standards. That notwithstanding, in every society, people are not ready to adhere to what is expected of them. In fact, nobody wants to be policed. But what we've done as a commission, new as we are, is to try to get a buy-in of the various players within that space. That being, try to win their confidence, try to let them appreciate the fact that it is in their interest that they adhere to the principles of quality, and not just quality, that those qualities are assured. And it is in their interest for them to work with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, which is GTEC. So what we've tried doing is not only to tell them what to do, but to convince them and let them appreciate why it is important for them to do what is expected of them. And in that space, we try as much as possible to give them some basic infrastructure that will aid them in doing what is expected of them. And one of them has to do with workshops that we organize for them, orientations, conferences. In fact, we use the carrots and sticks. Those who adhere to the principles of adherence are given some kind of motivation in terms of funding. Mind you, the commission is the body that is responsible for approving finances for the institutions, especially the public institutions. And in terms of even recruitment, the commission has direct responsibility and oversight. So it's been a means of motivation. As a matter of fact, beyond that, we've had instances where we've frozen applications of new programs for institutions that do not adhere. So it's a carrot and stick approach. It's more of dialogue, collaboration, convincing, and when it becomes necessary, we crack the whip. But as a matter of fact, as I indicated, the culture of accreditation and adherence is something that is still new in this our environment, but we try as much as possible to fast track it. And I can tell you on authority that within this past year, we've been able to get institutions to get their programs accredited at an exponential rate. Within this period, we've accredited close to about 2,000 programs, which is unprecedented. And that target, which has been chalked, is informed by the commitment of the institutions themselves, adhering to what is expected of them. Previously, it used not to be. So I think we are making progress. We haven't gotten to where we are yet. What we are doing currently is the foundational stage, which is do what is expected of you in terms of minimum. But when it gets to a certain level where the culture of adherence is entrenched, then we have to up the game by looking at moving beyond just the minimum threshold, but looking at it in terms of quantification of the adherence culture.
And that's been fascinating that you've managed to push through the policies and the compliance to the regulatory framework, but at the same time you've pushed a lot of programs through. So putting in these systems has not blocked progress. How have you ensured that your systems are agile and not actually slowing the system down and slowing institutions from achieving their objectives?
Well, one of the means that we've adopted has to do with technology. Instead of the traditional mode of peer review, where you have individuals traveling across the country to accredit programs of about some 310 institutions. What we've adopted, and which is very new, is the Accreditation Management Information System, which is AMIS. And this is a formula whereby individuals can sit in the comfort of their homes, apply for programs. We receive the programs at home or even in our offices, and based on that, we assign the programs to various lecturers and faculty for them to look at them electronically before they can even go to assess those programs. I must say that it's not been that easy, but we've tried as much as possible to adapt using the digital platform. And not just that, we've also looked at bulk accreditation as it's used to be, where you have individuals going for individual programs. So it's still in the evolving state. As I indicated, we haven't perfected our system yet. But one of the encouraging things that is coming out of this whole exercise is the culture of acceptability that institutions and programs need to be accredited. And I think this whole acceptability is also informed by the technological space that we find ourselves. And today, institutions somewhere in South Africa are able to check on the GTEC website to determine whether institutions here in Ghana, informed by the programs that are on our website, are accredited. And this has affected admissions and scholarships that have been given to individuals who have applied to international institutions. So the question of adhering to the principles of the standards of minimum threshold is becoming a global phenomenon. And it is in our interest as a nation and as institutions for us to buy into it. Because the first point of reference for anybody who wants to access a program in a Ghanaian university is to check on the regulatory website of that country in terms of the regulatory body, which is GTEC. And this is something that we've been trumpeting, and this is something that the institutions are buying in. And in fact, as I indicated, we think it is also important for the institutions to be given the minimum training in terms of what is expected of them. And the Commission has taken it upon itself, and you can check on our website. This year, September 2nd to 3rd, we are having our first summer program for all tertiary institutions, where they are going to be given the necessary ingredients in terms of accreditation, in terms of research, in terms of financing, in all the different facets of tertiary educational management. And it is something that we intend doing every year. Apart from that, we also having the first tertiary education conference in the country, where we intend to bring the different players within the tertiary educational space, where we want to have some kind of synergy between industry players and those within the academia or in the classroom, where at the end of the day, our interest is to make sure that whatever is being taught in the classroom has a place or meaning when it comes to the job market. So it's not been that easy. As I indicated, we are still evolving. The aspirations are very high. And in fact, what we said is refreshing, and it gives us the encouragement for us to continue to do what we are doing.
And it's really, really early days. I mean, you're really a young institutions and achieving great strides. I think one final question from me is your relationship with Parliament and with government entities. Is that a leg that you've had to also focus on in order to ensure the support that you need?
Definitely. And if you've been watching the media space in terms of tertiary educational delivery, there's a committee of Parliament, which is called the Public Accounts Committee. That committee traditionally is responsible for financial oversight when it comes to public institutions in this country. However, in recent times, they've chastised institutions within the tertiary space for not accrediting their programs. And I happen to have been called before the committee. And in fact, the irony is I applauded them for the oversight that they've given in terms of chastising these institutions and reawakening the consciousness of the players for the need for them to be accredited. So it is a holistic approach. The Commission works with Parliament, we work with government, we work with media, we work with all stakeholders, because at the end of the day, I keep on saying, if somebody graduates from a university and that product comes out and that product is corrupted, it corrupts the whole nation and it affects the human resource development of the nation. So we cannot get it wrong. And the only day we cannot get it wrong is if we, as a people, make sure that what is taught, how is taught, where is taught, is done right. And that is the job that the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission is engaging in. We believe that the human resource development of this nation is hinged on the perfection of our tertiary educational space. And that can only happen if the regulator is able to convince those who are being regulated that they need to do the right thing, and not just do the right thing, but the right thing is done.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It's definitely been enlightening, and I'm wishing you all the best as you shape the Ghana tertiary education landscape. Take care for now.